All right, good afternoon, everybody. We'd like to welcome you folks to another episode of the Fort Worth Community Arts Center's Boxed Lunch program. We are still delving into the artistry of the food and beverage industry today. We have a fabulous guest with us today. He is the creative director for Rahr Beer, I believe, if I'm saying that right. So, ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming Jeff Wood to the program today. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing very well. My days are starting to blend together. Monday might as well just be Friday, it seems like these days. But in the big scheme of things, I'm feeling well, and just so very happy to have you with us today, and very appreciative of you taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, before we get started here, Jeff, would you mind just reintroducing yourself and telling us a little bit about who you are and what it is you do out there?
Sure. My name's Jeff Wood. I've lived in Fort Worth for 10 years now. I was a freelance photographer when I moved here, started hanging out at the brewery up the street, became friends with everyone there, and I've been working there for 9 years. First year I worked on the packaging line, and for the last 8, I've been the creative director in charge of all graphic design, marketing, product development, social media, advertising. If it's got our logo or imaging on it, it comes through my hands. So that's it in a nutshell. I like cats more than most people, and I like food.
Well, I do as well, and I'm very excited to have you over for lunch, even if it's in a virtual setting. And in saying that, do you mind telling us what do you got on your lunch menu today, and some of the ingredients that you've got prepped and planned for your menu items?
Sure. This is something that I make for dinner usually. Typically, I'm at work. I still work at the office. It's about 3 blocks away, so I kind of do a smoothie lunch. But this is one of my favorite dinners. It's actually a bed of lettuce with rice, beans, avocado. You could call it a taco salad if you want, kind of along those lines. Maybe a burrito-less burrito, if you will, just the fillings. But, I'm a big fan of these little packaged beans. They kind of already come with a lot of spices and stuff in them. And, not ashamed to say I'll grab the little pre-made rice, kind of throw that in there. So romaine lettuce. I've got my garlic, salt, pepper, some spices, avocado, and my favorite chips in the world, if you haven't tried Donkey brand chips, they're amazing. So I usually crumble some chips and sprinkle a little bit of those on there. So.
Very nice. Wow.
Yeah.
Looks delicious already.
Yeah.
You're not even done yet. There's some great ingredients there. So I'm back to the cooking boards today. I'm just doing a little basic chicken and rice. So I've got some chicken breasts that I have marinated a little bit with some sesame oil and some soy sauce and some salt and pepper, pretty basic ingredients there. I've got my water pre-boiling with my rice as well. I've got a little bit of a secret ingredient I'll put in the rice before it really finishes up. And then just a pretty basic chicken and rice recipe today. So with that being said, let's get to it. What's the first thing you do to start prepping your lunch?
Probably the easiest thing is just to go ahead and crack the beans open and get them started off on kind of just a low heat. Nothing too crazy. So you can kind of get an idea there.
Yeah.
I already got some jalapeno, red bell pepper, onions. Everything's already kind of in there, so it's pretty good. So we'll throw that on like a 2 or a 3 and cover that. And I got something to add to that. This is something that I pre-made. It's actually veggie crumbles. It's going to look a lot like ground beef, but it's veggie crumbles that I make with onions, jalapeno, some other spices, salt and pepper, and you basically cook it just like you would brown ground beef. And we typically have this pre-made and always in the refrigerator for tacos or whatever, it's kind of my go-to little protein. So I'm going to throw that in with the beans as well, just a little extra kick on there.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. There's nothing wrong with a little pre-pep. It always makes things go a little smoother. So I'm just warming up my pan right now, and as soon as my skillet gets hot, I'll throw that chicken in there. I got the rice starting to boil there, so we'll just let that simmer a little bit. And while we're moving forward, I was curious if you'd talk a little bit about how your organization or you yourself have been reacting and affected by this crazy pandemic that continues to stay in our midst.
Coming back for round 2, looks like.
Seems
yeah,
like
so like I mentioned, I actually, the brewery is 3 blocks from where I live, so it's pretty close. And I work in a very small office with very little interaction with other people. So I've continued to go to the office throughout this entire process. So, you know, that part of it hadn't changed for me. But early on, we did have to make a lot of shifts at the brewery. We did do some furloughs. We brought those people back now. And we kind of converted our tap room model to an beer-to-go business, something that was just legalized for us last September. It actually was against the law for us to sell packaged beer-to-go to the consumer, but fortunately in September that changed. So during the course of the last 3 months or so, we've been doing beer-to-go specials. We have everything set up at the front where you can just pull up, order. We have all the beer right there. You know, it's the freshest beer you're going to get. You know, we've been packaging daily, putting it in the cans and just putting it straight out the door. So it's been a little different, but, you know, we kind of tapped into a business model that we knew existed, but hadn't really had an opportunity to kind of dive into it. So we were kind of forced to go into it. So now, you know we can do a beer-to-go business at our brewery.
Gotcha. Well, it sounds like adaptability is the key phrase these days. So, so with the bars, now that they've reclosed again, have you found yourself having to be a little bit more nimble in terms of marketing and those sort of things? It seems like once the bars opened, there was an opportunity to restock, and I would think that message would change as well. How's it been dealing with, I say, inconsistencies, the different closing, reopening, closing? How do you guys go about, you know, crafting your message and trying to continue to be productive without really having to focus on open or closed?
Right. So, you know, our business model, we basically sell to distributors, and the distributors go in and sell it at our accounts. And our accounts can be on-premise and off-premise. On-premise is beer that's consumed on-premise, so that's a bar and restaurant. Off-premise is a convenience store, gas station, grocery store, and that like. So the off-premise stuff almost kind of picked up in a sense because everyone was staying at home, so they were going to the store and buying, you know, 6-packs of beer, while the other business, you know, stopped. The on-premise business is primarily kegs. So our keg cooler just remained full throughout this, and we started switching our production into cans. So I just took the opportunity to not only promote our beer-to-go model that we were doing, just to start promoting some of the beers that we have, just, you know, telling people about the different beers that we make. We launched a new beer this January, and we really didn't get a chance to go full speed with it. So I've been marketing that. It's Rahr's Original. So just kind of using social media as a platform to just talk about the different beers we make and showcasing the cans, because that's what the consumer is really going to see right now is the cans, with bars being closed or open or closed or however it's going to happen here. So yeah, I've done a little bit of shift using can imagery, lifestyle graphics on social media, things that are eye-catching and, you know, kind of get people's attention, and then just kind of educate them about the different styles of beers we make.
Gotcha. I'm curious,
Yeah.
have any of the crafters, have they come up with any crazy flavors or recipes? I know you said that you have a new one. Is this breaking news for us? Can you divulge what the new flavor is, or is it still?
Yeah, that one's been out. We actually launched it in January, but unfortunately, before we really got, time to go through the entire marketing launch, everything kind of shut down. So I've been using that. We also had a new beer launch in May. And again, unfortunately, that was right in the middle of all the shutdown, but that was a tequila barrel-aged version of our Adios Pantalones, which is kind of it's a summer session beach beer. It's a light beer, but it's brewed with fresh lemon, lime, and sea salt.
Wow.
So what we had done was we got tequila barrels from Mexico, and we aged that beer in the tequila barrels for 6 months, and we did a launch of it in May. So again, that launch was kind of weird because we couldn't do a full-blown go out to your local bar and restaurant and try this, but we did as much canning as we could of that beer and put that out, and it came and went really fast. It's gone. So we've been talking about doing some other little small batch specialty things, and that's going to continue to happen as well. But we kind of plan, being the size we are, we kind of plan our portfolio about 8 to 10 months in advance for the next year. So we've stuck to that pattern more or less throughout the shutdown. We've just continued to roll out the new beers that we had already kind of planned. It's just a little bit of a different marketing angle. It's more of a go to the store and buy it in a can versus, ask for your local restaurant and bars, stuff like that. So.
Sure. Now, do you guys have a tasting room on site, or is most of your sampling, has it been more out in the industry? Do you have the opportunity to come into Rahr and sample or try things?
Yeah, so we actually have a pretty huge facility. We have an indoor tap room, and we have our back parking lot with a loading dock stage. Our business model for the brewery is we've always had our midweek tasting every Wednesday and our weekend tasting every Saturday. And that's when we open up. We have bands, food trucks. It's $15. You get a wristband, you get free beers, you get a souvenir pint glass to keep. Of course, that all shut down, but we slowly reopened that over the last few weeks. But with new social distancing mandates and serving in plastic cups, and we spread the tables out. It's still been going along, just at a smaller scale. And then now that the news that I heard on Friday that we're kind of shutting back down. So probably what we'll be doing is when I go back into the office after this interview today is, start to look at that strategy, just go back to the beer to go model for now. Just encourage people to come to the drive-through. They don't have to get out of the car.
Sure.
Just run their credit card and put the beer in the car for them. That there's no contact or little interaction. So.
Gotcha. How many flavors do you guys have?
18 commercial flavors. We have others as well. We have what's considered our core brand, and we have our seasonals, and then we have our specialty beers. But in our portfolio that's commercially released on an annual basis, we have 18 beers. And then there's another half a dozen little fun side projects that we'll do for tap room releases or some kind of a special launch. But yeah.
Nice.
A little mix.
Well, sounds like a great menu opportunity for anybody that's looking to expand past their Budweiser phase. I know it's sometimes tough for me to do that, but I always enjoy a good craft beer. So I'll make sure and get on the website and check out some of those flavors. So, all right, how's your lunch coming there? Any sort of preps or tips for us?
I'm on the avocado. Probably not a big tip, but you hit it, turn it, pull that.
Very good.
Right. So I just basically take the avocado. I can go full on guacamole. I just try to keep it kind of simple since my beans and rice are pretty seasoned. I'll smash this up and add a little bit of garlic, and I just put some crushed red pepper flakes in there with some salt and pepper, just to kind of give it a little flavor without going full blown, guacamole on it. Because I'll kind of whip it and just put it on top. Let me grab a fork. Just kind of mash that up a little bit.
Looks delicious. So while you're in the midst of your food prep there, I've got my chicken going here in the skillet. Looks like it's going pretty well there, and that rice is still just boiling away. Do you mind talking a little bit about what have you learned about yourself and your organization during this trying time?
I don't know if I've learned anything new, probably just expanded on things that I kind of already knew as far as the ability to adapt. Most of my careers and things that I've done personally over the years have always come with like an element of being able to adapt and kind of react to things. Like I worked in the fashion industry as well before, and more importantly, kind of West Coast surf lifestyle teen fashion industry. So as you can imagine, the trends with teens kind of ebb and flow and come and go. So I think just that ability to kind of react. A pandemic isn't anything that I ever thought would come into play. So it's a little bit different reacting to a pandemic and face masks and hand washing versus just tickled teens wanting to wear baggy jeans versus tight jeans. But it's all the same. I mean, if you have that ability to kind of react quickly to things, no matter what comes along. So, just to answer your question, I think probably just an expansion of that reactability and be able to change quickly and move and pivot. I knew it was always there, but, I think that all of us have kind of taken it up a notch or two with this new challenge that we've faced lately.
Yeah, sure. I keep telling people I'm either slept through or skipped that pandemic class in college. I wasn't aware it was going to be as critical as it seems to have been these last few months. So
my wife and I were at the school yesterday, and I just had to stop and just take a moment and tell her, look around. Does it feel like we're in a movie with everybody pushing their carts with masks on? I'm like, haven't we seen this film before? It's so bizarre.
It really has been surreal, and I'm sure you'd probably agree. Just about the time we think we're there, something else comes up, and we seem to be right back at the beginning again. So it's been a crazy couple of weeks here with all of the numbers seem to be climbing, and just trying to figure out what seems to be best for everybody. So now I know you said you've been still going to work throughout all of this. Has that changed the way your home life is in terms of, do you have any new hobbies? I noticed you seem to do quite a bit with running, backpacking, hiking, camping, all kinds of great stuff. Have you had any new hobbies come up, or are you just making sure that you're getting all you can with the old ones?
I try to do the old ones. There in the early days, before it started getting really hot, we were spending just about, seemed like every weekend in the very early days of the shutdown, just going to the state parks and doing a little car camping and some canoeing. My wife and I recently got a canoe, so we've just been kind of canoeing around. It's gotten so hot lately, that's kind of shut down. Just trying to stay outside as much as possible, not sit inside and wallow. I have a buddy that lives down the street that has a sailboat out on Eagle Mountain Lake.
Right.
And he's been teaching me how to sail. And I never realized how much work sailing is, but it's so fun and rewarding. Once you shut that motor off and you're just under sail power, it's probably one of the most calm, peaceful things that you can do. So he decided that he wanted to take that up a notch, and we actually drove Tuesday down to the Gulf, and we rented a sailboat, a 42-foot sailboat, and just took it out in the middle of the Gulf. And
wow,
that was a learning experience for me. Still trying to figure out how to tie a knot. We kind of got in a little over our heads a couple of times, and there was a point where he looked at me and said, "Go down below and grab 2 life jackets."
Oh.
So I just got back from that trip. That was amazing, though.
Well, that sounds like it's always good to learn a new skill, and anytime you're able to add to your survival instincts, I think that is certainly a bonus as well. So.
So my advice to people learning how to sail, or even just the boating experience, if you're going out with a friend who's captaining the boat and you're in charge of tying the boat off to the dock when he pulls alongside the dock, make sure you know how to tie a boat off to the dock, because there's more to it than just throwing a rope around something.
Yes, it seems like knots are a very important skill to learn as well. So especially when your livelihood's dependent on keeping that near you, huh?
You're not tying a shoestring on your foot, that's for sure.
All right, my friend. So how's your lunch coming there?
It's good. I've got my romaine here, a little stalk of romaine lettuce, which little tip as far as green lettuce goes, it's the highest protein content green lettuce out there, if you were wondering.
Always good to know, yes.
And I think iceberg is the least.
Iceberg's what?
I think iceberg's the least amount of protein in a lettuce, and romaine's the highest. I believe that's correct.
I think I've heard that before. Iceberg's basically just water. Doesn't seem to be a lot of good things in there when you start looking at spinach and some of the other greens. So yeah, good tip to know. All right, so I'm going to tell you my special ingredient here for this particular meal. I fry an egg as well. Sometimes if I'm doing noodles or something, I'll pop that in right before the boil's done. But for this one, I'm just going to fry an egg, and then I'll cut that up and mix that in with the rice as well. It just gives a little bit of different flavor there for that rice. Sometimes the white rice can seem a little dull, but I like it myself. So that's my special tip for today as far as chicken and rice. Fry an egg, cut it up, throw it in there and mix it around, and always put a little bit of butter in your rice as well once it finishes boiling. And another little inside tip there. Not that I'm all knowledgeable in terms of cooking. If these box lunch interviews continue, though, I don't know. I might do a recipe book.
Well, I thought it would be funny. So you have the box lunch. I thought it would be really cool to do another series where everyone just messes up, and you call it botched lunch.
Well, I think there might have been a few of those already with some of my episodes. So I'm certainly honing my cooking skills as these things move forward. So, all right, so things are looking pretty good there on your cutting board. While you're, oh yeah, very nice.
Yeah, there's not much left to do here. I've got everything kind of heating up, and at this point, it all just kind of goes on top in layers. And then I've got my, I'll finish it off with a little bit of this stuff. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, goodness gracious. That looks delicious.
It's my organic carrot, citrus, and garlic habanero sauce. It's got a real, lots of heat. I'll just kind of sprinkle that on top there at the end.
Awesome. I'll have a little bit of topping on mine as well, but I think I told you before, all my secrets they're pretty much out. So I'll go with a little bit of sriracha sauce as well. And I still seem to use the same 5 ingredients for everything. So while you're moving forward with your lunch there, will you talk a little bit about how do you see the craft beer industry adapting throughout the midst of all of this pandemic? Is craft beer a singular person that's really kind of watching things, or is it more of a group event? I know in terms of manufacturing, it probably takes a lot of people, but how do you see that industry adapting with all of the things that are going on these days?
Well, definitely, some of the things that I've already kind of mentioned a little bit, for us, and I imagine everybody else, we're going to probably shift our focus a little bit from kegging into more packaged goods, which is cans for us. You'll probably see not just us, but probably any industry that sells different types of package to a restaurant and bar versus a grocery store and convenience store. They're probably going to start pushing more of their production into that into that grocery and convenience store arena of the business. And that's, probably the biggest thing for us is, more canning, less kegging in a sense.
Is there a difference in the time that takes for the actual product itself? Do you have to keep it longer in a keg than you do in a can?
No, the lifespan of a keg is probably a little bit longer than a can, but fortunately we made the switch to cans a few years ago. The lifespan of a beer in a can is actually superior to the lifespan of a beer in a bottle. So it kind of goes, bottle will let light and oxygen in first, can, and then keg is probably the most superior container for beer. So, it does shift that, but the good thing about cans is we keep our empty can inventory on site as well as at a warehouse from our supplier in Dallas. So we can kind of, if we need to up our can production, it's just get more in. It's fairly easy. We have a canning line with a full-time crew that can run the canning line at any point. And, even during the pandemic, when we were upping the canning production, I went over as well as some of the other guys in the office just to work on the canning line for a day.
Gotcha.
So, the brewers will throw a little bit of Slayer on and just crank it up and throw some beer in cans. So that's probably going to be the biggest shift. That plus just, with the tap room and having people come in and drinking, like I said, we kind of opened that back up a little bit. Now it's going to go back away. So, we're just going to make it through it pretty much one can at a time, really. For better terms.
Well, it totally makes sense. So, what item or food venue are you most looking forward to indulging in once we get back to some normalcy and you find yourself comfortable enough to get back out there and enjoy some of these restaurants and great Fort Worth festivities?
So we've already gone out a little bit once things started opening up. So I can kind of tell you where I went first. For me, it's going to be Tex-Mex and Mexican food. I think Salsa Limon was probably the first place I went back out. Where else have we gone? Can't really think. Thai food,
right?
For sure. There's a couple of good Thai restaurants. Cannon Chinese, which is right up the street, is really good. So any kind of Chinese, Thai, Mexican. Pizza is really, really high on the list. But the good thing is pizza's so easy during the pandemic.
Sure.
You can just grab it, get it delivered. We've got Black Cat right up the street. You can just walk up and grab a pizza and walk home with it. So it's not like I've been rushing out to the pizza restaurants because that industry always has kind of had that delivery model set. But yeah, really Chinese, Thai food, and Mexican Tex-Mex for me. That's where you can find me.
Wow. Well, if you want to shout out to any restaurants once the interview's done, make sure you pop back over on the Facebook interview and give us any links or any insight to any local restaurants or things that you feel might benefit the people to know about. I know that there's been some shared secrets in this time, and I've been very fortunate for a lot of the box lunch folks to tell me about places that I didn't even know existed. So always looking for a tip or a trick in regards to that, and would welcome the ability to find some of these hideaways in the Fort Worth culinary district. So
absolutely
great stuff out there. And again, I think it's so important for people to get out and support any way they can, even if they're not able to step inside the restaurant. Curbside, all of that will certainly go a long way towards making sure when things get back to normal that we still have a lot of these fantastic businesses available to us. So do all you can. So indeed. All right. So it looks like you're moving on pretty well to your plating there. Am I correct in that?
Yeah, I'm getting there. I've got my lettuce, my rice. I've got my beans with my veggie crumbles. I'm going to go with the little avocado guac mix that I've made. Gonna bust open the chips.
There you go.
Throw some chips on the plate. I'll try to make this look as presentable and pretty as possible here.
I hear it. Well, while you're finishing up your plating there, do you mind talking a little bit about what helpful community resources are you seeing or using personally or with Rahr and their organization And what can best serve you in terms of resources, or any resources that you folks might have for other organizations or people out there looking around?
Yeah. So, you know, our motto is quality brewed, community strong, Texan proud. So the community strong, it's written on all of our cans. It kind of goes back to our commitment with the community. We do a lot of work with charity, things ranging from financing wells to be drilled in Africa, to working with the local police, nurse, firefighters, cancer charities, breast cancer awareness, prostate cancer awareness. So we do a lot of that. You can kind of see some of the links and things on our social media. We also are located in what's called the Near South Side neighborhood of Fort Worth. And Near South Side Inc. is a really nice organization that we're a member of, and all of the local businesses in this part of town are members of. And they've been really instrumental with us as far as, you know, we're on email groups along with all the other businesses around us, keeping us posted on what's going on, what to expect. You know, things with some of the financial aid that's offered from the government have gone to, you know, the owners through Near Southside Inc. So that's been a real instrumental and kind of key avenue for us, is that whole community working with them and getting information from them. So.
Wow, that sounds great. Absolutely. And I'm assuming that it's pretty easy to find your social media stuff on Facebook. I'm always very curious to know, are any of those resources or links available on your website as well? Or is the social media a little bit more directed towards the now in terms of some of those resources?
Yeah, our you know, our website is a little bit more of a static website, but we do have built in there on the main page. If you go to rahrbrewing.com, you'll see all of our Instagram is actually linked to our main page, and any events that we're having at the brewery are linked to the main page. So that is updated, but as far as like the brands and company history and stuff like that, it's pretty set. We do have something on our main page as well that's kind of unique. It's a beer finder. If you see a brand of ours that you like Validity Mango or Dadgum IPA, you can type it into the beer finder. You can put your zip code in, and it'll show you bars, restaurants, and gas stations, grocery stores that have that particular beer. Nice. So that's pretty cool. But yes, our social media, you know, I'm updating it, you know, daily.
Right.
So that's probably the most up-to-date avenue, as with most people, I would imagine.
Yeah.
If you really want to get, you know, a clear picture on what's happening now. And it's at Rahr Brewing on Instagram, Facebook. We have Twitter. I don't use it as much. I feel like that Instagram and Facebook really covers, you know, a broad enough range of our customers. So that's kind of what we utilize the most.
And so what's the best way to pick up a six-pack? Do you call, order ahead? Do you just drive up and honk the horn and you wheel it out to the car?
Yeah, so, you know, you can still find our beer at, you know, gas stations and grocery stores and all that, so that's good. And then with our beer-to-go model, I'm assuming we're going to go back to kind of where we were before. I don't know if it's going to be a Monday through Saturday or a Wednesday through Saturday. We'll figure that out. We'll put that information on social media probably later today or tomorrow. But yeah, we have a drive-through set up where you can come through. We have a tent, all the beers that are available. We've got big industrial coolers like you would see at a QT or 7-Eleven that has all the beer in it. Kind of pick what you want. Everything's cold. It's never sitting out. We have our point of sale system is on an iPad. So you'll have someone come out with a mask on and they'll have the system and you just tell them what you want. Real quick, easy transaction. Like I said, you don't have to get out of the car. But all of those hours for beer to go are going to be posted on our social media pages probably later today.
Gotcha.
So everybody can see what our plan is there. So
awesome. Well, we wish you the best with it, and I'm running low, so I might have to make a trip over there and try some of those delicious blends. So
your first take is on me.
Yeah. Fair enough. I'll take you up on that. So all right. So
we could do a whole show on cooking with beer as well. So
I thought about it, but then I thought for sure I'd get in trouble because I think I prefer to drink the beer more than cook with it. And so I didn't want to get out of hand on a Monday. So maybe I'll do that on Friday.
Yeah.
Great. All right, Jeff. So are you ready for presentation here? Are you all plated up and ready to show it off?
think I am. Let me add my last touch here.
All right. While you're doing that, I'll go ahead and drop mine up here. I should have used a different plate. That rice doesn't seem to show up quite as well. But I've got the chicken breast there and the rice, and you can see a little bit of that fried egg. And then again, I just poured some of that sriracha hot sauce on there. So I think mine's all good. Woo! Look at that. That's restaurant ready, buddy.
Got a little fancy. I always call this the shark technique, when you take that little chip and you just make it look like a little shark fin. That's it.
Well done. That looks delicious. Absolutely fantastic. So, all right, Jeff, I got one more question for you. Any tips or tricks on how to stay sane in the midst of all this craziness that's going on in the world right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's probably going to be different for everybody. For me, it's you know, try to focus on me. Don't get too depressed. Don't sit on the couch as much.
Yeah.
Just try, you know, again, this is just going to be for me, but just to try to keep moving and get outside and, you know, just enjoy, you know, try to make the best of it and enjoy having a little bit of extra time to kind of do the things that you always felt you were too stressed out and busy to do before. You know, go for a hike, go for a walk, whatever. That's my advice.
Yeah, stay engaged mentally and physically, and if you're not able to get out there with others, just make sure you're talking to yourself. That used to have a different meaning, but I think these days it's more important than ever to listen to your body, listen to your mind, and do all you can to stay in the know and pay attention to those that are out and around. And with that being said, Jeff, I can't thank you enough for joining us today. I'm glad to know that things are going well for you guys over there, and it sounds like you guys are moving forward and doing the best you can in all of this. So any final words for our viewers out there, or anything that you would like to add in regards to the current situation?
No, just everybody, you know, stay safe, stay sane. If you get lonely and you don't have anybody around, go adopt a dog or a cat. They're still open. There's still plenty of pets out there that need homes. And, you know, for me, that helps keep me sane, is having my little critters around. So
nice. Very nice. All right. Okay, Jeff, it looks like I think that just about wraps things up. I know that you've got a cohort there with you who's going to be sharing your lunch. I just wanted to give her a shout out as well. So there she is right there in the back. She get a little plate there as well.
My wife, Jen, she works from home. That's her office. So, you know, she's at an arm's reach to the kitchen and the refrigerator. So
very nice. Well, it's been nice to see more than one face on a box lunch. So I feel like I'm at a party. So with that being said, we'll play it up here. And again, Jeff, I can't thank you enough for joining us. That about wraps up another episode of Box Lunch here at the Fort Worth Community Arts Center. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all those great social media features. We've got some wonderful videos over on YouTube as well. We'll be back with a holiday episode on Friday. Jeff, thank you so much. Hello to your lovely wife out there. Please stay safe, everybody, and bon appetit. You take care of yourself, Jeff. Thanks again for another great menu item, and look forward to getting over there and enjoying some of that fabulous craft beer.
No problem. Thank you.
Absolutely. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
I'm just going to eat chips.